How's everyone doing today? Good, positive. I like to hear that. Was that on your star? I had a star. It said creativity, and then when Reverend June asked us to take out our stars, I couldn't find mine. I thought that's the burden of being a person of creativity, and I think you want to keep on that straight path, and you want to be orderly and everything, but you tend to lose things and misplace things. Well, I'm hoping I can find a sermon for you this morning. I got a call the other night. I was in Toronto celebrating my wife's and my 25th wedding anniversary, and yeah. I hope you're clapping for her or the Lord, because I certainly can't take any credit for that. Actually, it's, I always kid around when it's somebody's anniversary, this the 25th anniversary, and I'll say, oh, it's like 17 of the happiest years of your life, right? But when it's your own, you don't joke like that. You feel like there's something quite sacred and quite special about that. And so we were glad to have the time away and time to celebrate our 25 years of marriage, and coming home last night through the whiteouts and the heavy winds along Lake Erie, really from Niagara Falls all the way down to about Ashtabula. We were dealing with a lot of snow, and I started thinking about, well, Robin, she's probably having a tough drive too, coming up from Florida with a husband who's not well. And I began to think about, well, what will the message be that I will share with the church tomorrow, and given that Tuesday is Epiphany, and this is what we call Epiphany Sunday. And I started thinking about a Christmas card I received many years ago, one of my favorites. It had a good sense of humor to it, and I think that's why it was one of my favorites. On the front of the card, there's a big yellow New York City taxi cab. And in the front seat of the cab, there's this very puzzled-looking cab driver. Because you see, in the back seat, there are three wise men, magi, in shiny gold robes and purple hats, and under each of one of their arms, they're holding these gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And with the other arms, though, they're leaning out the window of the cab, pointing up in the sky. And you open the card up, and it says, "Follow that star." Well, you have to be a lover of old movies to understand follow that car. And there was a play on words, follow that star. But I began thinking about what has impressed me so much about these magi, these scholars, these wise men throughout the years, is just how seriously they took the birth of Jesus Christ. This was not a nominal response that they gave to the birth of Jesus Christ. They took his coming into the world extremely seriously. They took it seriously in their preparation, in their anticipation, and when he was born, in their jubilation. They brought him the gifts that Isaiah had prophesied about so long ago, the gold, the frankincense, and the myrrh. They took their life so seriously, you might even call it a vocation. You know that Latin word, vocare, from which we get the word vocation. It means calling. It wasn't just an interest. They weren't just dabbling in astronomy, studying the night sky. They weren't just dabbling in the prophecies. They weren't dabbling in their study of the Scripture. They let it become their life, their anticipation of the birth of Jesus Christ. And his coming into the world became their vocation. I'm always impressed by these magi, whoever they were. 3 of them, 30 of them, 300 of them, men, women, I don't know. We don't know. The Scriptures really don't tell us. What they do tell us is that they took the coming of Jesus Christ into this world seriously enough to let it become their life's pursuit. But you know what? The Magi were not the only ones to take the birth of Jesus Christ seriously. You see, there was another who took the birth of Jesus Christ seriously. In fact, he took it dead serious. You know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Herod. King Herod was taking the birth of Jesus Christ very seriously when he said to those chief priests and scribes, where's this guy been born? Tell me so I can go worship him too. Of course, he was threatened by that kind of power, wasn't he? He wanted to do away with Jesus. He took the birth of Jesus so seriously that he had every male child 2 years and under ripped from their mother's arms, taken into the streets and slaughtered. The scriptures say the streets ran red with blood. Now that's taking the birth of Jesus Christ seriously. What surprises me, though, is sometimes I find world leaders and powers and principalities taking the birth of Jesus Christ with the utmost seriousness when there are people who claim to be people of faith, who claim to be Christians, and they only receive it nominally. Why is it that the powers and principalities are fearful of this one Jesus who has come into this world, a Word made flesh, the Son of God? They take him seriously enough to try and defeat him, and yet those who claim faith in him sometimes remain lukewarm. I don't understand. I'll show you what I mean, though. A number of years ago, I had a dear friend named Giuliano Diambwangi. Now, I share with you his name. I don't often share people's real names, but I share Giuliano Diambwangi's name with you today for two reasons. One, it took me a long time to learn how to pronounce it. And I'm going to make some mileage out of it after all that work. But secondly, Giuliano Diambwangi was the head evangelist for l'Église Unie de Christ du Zaire, the United Church of Christ in Zaire, which is a denomination of millions and millions and millions of people of faith. And Giuliano had come to Canada. I met him at McGill University, where he was working on his second PhD, a brilliant man. And he said he had come to Canada as a kind of evangelist or missionary to North Americans. I said, "What are you talking about?" Giuliano said, "Well, years ago, North America sent tons of missionaries over to African countries to evangelize and proselytize and try and convert us to be people of faith, to be Christians. But he said, now we look back at the United States and Canada and we see people of faith are kind of nominal in their faith. They're becoming kind of weaker and weaker in their faith, and we feel a call to come back and be missionaries to North America." Well, my ego tried to get over that. I didn't want to feel too insulted. But, he had a point there. I'd done a lot of research at the time on people's faith in North America, and I knew that 8 out of 10 people in North America believed in God, and 7 out of 10 people in North America believed in the basic premises of Christianity, that there was a man named Jesus who was the Son of God, who was crucified and raised. But those same statistics seem to be saying that less than 4 out of 10 even practice their faith anymore. And that was 15 years ago. I wonder if it's even less now. I'm not sure about the statistic, but I guess it'd be about the same. 40% or less practice their faith on a daily basis. Maybe we did need a missionary to come over and light a fire underneath us to get us to take the birth of Jesus Christ a little more seriously in our lives. So I invited Giuliano to come and be our guest speaker for Week of Prayer for Christian Unity. I said, I'm pastoring a little church in this town, and I have colleagues from other denominations and other churches, and we're looking for a guest speaker for Week of Prayer for Christian Unity. It seems to me you'd be the perfect person to come and be our speaker. Well, Giuliano was overjoyed. He was glad to come and talk to us. So we scheduled a Monday night workshop, and we scheduled a Wednesday night workshop. We scheduled a Saturday workshop, and then, of course, he was going to preach on Sunday morning in our congregation, the one I was serving at the time.